Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'll be checking out this interesting video from Matt Walsh, and it's titled Trump Honors Fallen Soldiers, Media Loses Its Mind. You guys, I'm excited for this. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing. Give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what Matt Walsh has for us in this video.
On Monday, a U.S. Army veteran named Lucas O'Hara was at Arlington Cemetery for a private ceremony marking the 3rd anniversary of the 2021 Kabul airport attack, which resulted in the deaths, you may remember, of 13 members of the U.S. military. Donald Trump was at Arlington Cemetery, too, because he had been invited by the families of the fallen soldiers. Now, at one point, Trump was photographed and videotaped walking alongside Arlington's deputy chief of staff while he was laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. The deputy chief of staff didn't seem to think anything was amiss. Neither did O'Hara, who later described the ceremony this way, quote, "I've witnessed over 75 wreath-laying ceremonies performed by politicians and conducted 524 funerals in this cemetery during the time I served in the Presidential Honor Guard for 3 years. What I got to witness yesterday was the most respectful and solemn ceremony I have seen. There were no speeches, no angles, no weird photo ops, just our elected officials and the 45th president respectfully and solemnly honoring the fallen and their families." Now, as you might have heard, the corporate press has a very different spin on what happened, and it's not hard to see why they're so upset. Any ceremony marking the deaths of the service members at Abbey Gate is inevitably also a reminder of the Biden administration's disastrous handling of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. What happened at Abbey Gate was obviously preventable, and Democrats don't want to acknowledge that, especially in an election year. So instead, they're attempting to turn this ceremony into yet another desperate attempt to smear Donald Trump. MSNBC accused Trump of staging a bizarre and disrespectful photo op, for example. The Daily Beast and many other outlets did the same. NPR suggested that Trump's campaign had no right to photograph the ceremony at all. And NBC, in an especially unhinged moment, even went after the mother of one of the fallen soldiers who invited Trump. Watch.
Former president to Arlington. Her son, Marine Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, died at Abbey Gate. What would you say to people who may be pro-Trump, anti-Trump, whatever their politics might be, who just feel like that's not a place for politicians or for politics?
I would have to say, are you in my shoes? I invited him. My son was murdered under the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, that guy is a total scumbag, and certainly not the only one working in media. Anytime a journalist says, "What would you say to people who might say?" you know they're about to hit you with some kind of smear. They're just too cowardly to ask the question directly, so they attribute it to unnamed people instead. They know at some level it's completely repulsive to ask a question this idiotic to the mother of a fallen soldier, but they have to find a way to ask it anyway. And in this case, the smear isn't just idiotic. It's about as hypocritical and one-sided as it could possibly be. I mean, there are about 1 million examples of Democrats using photographs from Arlington Cemetery in literal campaign advertisements. And precisely none of those incidents caused any kind of media outcry whatsoever. Yeah. So here's Joe Biden from just 4 years ago. Watch.
God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
Okay, so in case you couldn't see the whole thing, the ad showed Joe Biden at Arlington Section 60, which is largely reserved for fallen soldiers from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the photo was followed by the message, "Biden for President," and a phone number to text if you want to join the campaign. So what happened to...
Wow, you guys, this says a lot about the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I don't know why people are hating on Donald Trump, because it sends the word hate what is good and love what is bad. Despite all the agendas that they are pushing, people are still rooting for them. People are still saying wrong in everything Donald Trump is doing. I don't know how anyone that sees this photograph of Donald Trump with the families of the fallen soldiers will be disgusted, who feel that he disrespected the family or whatever. I would say that that person is not okay upstairs, because what Donald Trump did right there is, instead of doing it the way Joe Biden did his, by giving a speech and leaving his campaign number on the screen, that is totally insane. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below, and let's continue watching, you guys.
That's not a place for politicians or for politics. Why didn't NBC or any corporate media outlet have that question when that advertisement aired 4 years ago? There's no chance they missed it because these kinds of ads have been constant. They've been used in both of Biden's presidential campaigns. Here's another one from just this summer.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it ends with a Biden-Harris campaign logo. They're using caskets of fallen soldiers and grave sites, once again, in a campaign ad. And for good measure, the ad accuses Trump of calling fallen soldiers suckers, which is a claim that's based entirely on unnamed sources that spoke to the left-wing Atlantic magazine. Again, there was no outrage when this ad ran just a few weeks ago. Nobody noticed or said anything about it. And there are many more examples like this. There are plenty of photographs of U.S. presidents at Arlington, including Barack Obama. You can see some of the photos there. Really standard stuff. None of this is a scandal. And it's obviously appropriate for political figures to pay their respects at Arlington Cemetery. And it's not unusual for there to be photographs of that. It's especially appropriate when the families of fallen soldiers have invited those political figures in the first place. Everybody understood that until 15 seconds ago, when Donald Trump made the mistake of reminding people that the Biden administration completely botched the withdrawal from Afghanistan. There's another aspect to this manufactured scandal, which is that someone on Trump's staff supposedly made physical contact with a staffer at the cemetery. Apparently, one of the staffers objected to what Trump and the family members of the fallen soldiers were doing. Quoting from an Army statement, quote, "Participants in the August 26th ceremony and the subsequent Section 60 visit were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and DoD policies which clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. An ANC employee who attempted to ensure adherence to these rules was abruptly pushed aside. This incident was unfortunate, and also unfortunate that the ANC employee and her professionalism has been unfairly attacked. ANC is a national shrine to the honored dead of the armed forces, and its dedicated staff will continue to ensure public ceremonies are conducted with the dignity and respect the nation's fallen deserve." Now, the Army went on to note that the incident had been reported to the police, which obviously comes off as an extremely disproportionate and hysterical reaction to a minor conflict like this. But they added that no charges are going to be filed, probably because the whole idea of reporting this incident to the police is laughable on its face. The Pentagon then came out and said they supported the Army's statement. Now, obviously, I wasn't at Arlington Cemetery on Monday, so I have no idea what happened or didn't happen between a Trump staffer and a staffer at the cemetery. Nor do I especially care. What I can say is that the tone of the statement is remarkable. The Army appears to be extremely outraged that the, quote, professionalism of somebody working at the cemetery was, quote, unfairly attacked. They won't stand for that, even though it appears from the vast amounts of precedent we have that the staffer was completely wrong to begin with. But the really interesting thing is that the Pentagon never demonstrated anywhere near this much consternation when their incompetence allowed a suicide bomber to kill the 13 members of the U.S. military that Donald Trump was honoring on Monday. I don't recall the Pentagon approving statements condemning their own handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal. In fact, I recall the opposite. I recall the military decided to retaliate by accidentally blowing up the car of a random Afghan aid worker. And then they lied and said that there were no civilian casualties when in fact they killed 9 members of his family. And even then, nobody in the Pentagon was publicly dressed down for that. The Army reserves, I guess, those kinds of snarky, hostile statements for the Trump campaign and only the Trump campaign. This kind of response only makes sense when you realize that the Democrat Party and the leadership of the Pentagon want us to forget what happened in Afghanistan 3 years ago. They're so desperate that they're willing to badger the family members of those fallen service members and call the police on the Trump campaign. I mean, they'd rather we talk about all of this manufactured drama instead of the 13 service members who died and how they died. And that is why NBC News and every other outlet that's debasing itself to smear Donald Trump for participating in that memorial at Arlington Cemetery are all today canceled.
You guys, that was such an interesting one from Matt Walsh, and I don't know what Donald Trump did differently from the past presidents who have done something like this. I don't know if it was Donald Trump post that made them so mad, because when I saw that photo, I didn't see anything extraordinary about it. The family invited them and they were happy to see him there, and I don't know why the whole world is losing their mind over such a photo. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below. I really had fun reacting to this particular one, and I believe you guys also enjoyed watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.